Melissa, and I'll turn it to you. And so this is all just on us, but are you seeing any of your boards deliver good education on AI to their directors?
Yes, I would say of the boards I'm involved, one is just full on because we use AI in everything and we have for a long time. We don't even talk about board using AI, it's just assumed. And then the other end of the spectrum is getting our counsel comfortable with how to use the tool that we're using and um, what kinds of information. I know, Mark, you're probably going to cringe, um, but they're very worried. And I kind of agree because I come again from being a lawyer. They're very worried about, if there were a shareholder activist suit or any kind of lawsuit, anything that is perhaps submitted in the portal or for any kind of distribution could waive our attorney-client privilege. So there's a lot of sensitivity, and they're trying to figure out what their own risk profile for just that is, separate from the risk profile of the company, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's I see all different flavors.
Yeah, I would just comment. I think they're right to be concerned about privilege. I think it's very important that uh, COSECs or whoever operates the board materials and platform have a really strict policy
Mhm.
and process around how they take minutes, turn those
Right.
things into actions and insights, and dispose upon notes, et cetera, in a very timely manner that
Mm.
limits the risk there, but still preserves the right material to create that institutional memory that people can act upon and use in the future without risk.
Yeah, 100%.
I think another layer to what both of you have just described is the layer of unknown AI in the room.
Yeah.
Note takers, recordings,
Yeah.
and also so both the sort of the virtual or machine piece, but also on your teams, on your corporate secretary teams, uh, new people who've come in who may be digital natives and don't think twice about recording things, putting them through the system. So there has to be a lot more vigilance by the more seasoned people on these teams, not only about what AI is being used to note take, et cetera, but the people, especially some of the more junior people who are handling the materials, that it doesn't somehow get AI used, you put through
Mhm.
AI that isn't in a walled garden, so to speak. And so I think that it's both human and machine sort of intelligence education that we need to do. That there's a lot of loose ends there, so we have to be much more vigilant than we used to be.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be real. Our phone, even if it's not recording, is listening
There you go.
Absolutely.
and could be
Absolutely.
discoverable.
Yeah,
Or somebody might be using Google Glasses or
Yeah.
Right.
Meta glasses or something, and you don't know they're recording it.
I
Okay.
don't want to distract us from where we're going next, Carolyn, but just
Yeah, please.
that it's almost like a AI risk hierarchy of needs.
Hmm.
We're talking about things in the portal and in the boardroom when we have 92% of board of directors experimenting with AI right now, without only 6% of those boards having a policy, which means they're taking materials on their own,
Yeah.
loading them into unknown machines, unknown models with unknown license and protection. And there's a tremendous amount of trust that's been sort of created unnecessarily without evidence so far
Right.
with these companies. I think that's an incredible risk compared to the risks that are already controlled in the boardroom.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll open it up to all of you. That's kind of a shocking statistic, Mark. What do you think stands in the way of companies creating these AI policies for the board?
Leadership and expertise.
Okay.
I think I think as we run this again next year, that number will change dramatically. I think that
Okay.
the industry that advises on this is on the cusp of breaking through and
Okay.
convincing directors and boards that this is an important priority.
If I could raise sort of the overview of this just a little bit more to the 60,000-foot view.
Please.
I think we don't realize, we realize, but we don't realize that we're at the entry of an exponential industrial revolution. AI is the most pervasive piece of it right now. Gen AI, agentic AI, everything that comes with it. We're seeing it, feeling it every day. So we're kind of scrambling. How do we deal with this? But it's a much bigger exponential technological revolution taking place. And there's biotech, there's advanced materials, there's frontier computing, quantum is coming down the pike, et cetera, et cetera. So there are all these things going on, some affecting all of us, some affecting specific businesses. And I think all boards have to do a sort of a reset about what does governance mean in the boardroom today and tomorrow. And not to flog my book, but that's the focus of my book, is to get us to shift to an exponential governance mindset, not just a governance mindset. And so that means using everything that we've ever done and really kind of accelerating how we do it. And that means that the AI policy, for example, to ground this, AI policy has to be informed by the governance, sort of the reset that's taking place or should take place at the board level.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. You actually teed up my next question, which was all, yeah, which is, and I'll, it will be exponential change. We'll be bringing AI into the boardroom, into our core processes. We may have agentic board members. We may, in some dystopian future, have no human board members, but we won't go quite there yet. But I do want to, as we go through this exponential change, what are some of the biggest risks and blind spots that we have to work through as we progress through this exponential evolution? And what should boards be doing today?
I think the biggest one is we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And just trying to not get overwhelmed by that question and shut down, as opposed to just continuing to talk to people, continuing to educate yourself, continuing to just learn and realize, like, it was funny, the poll that we had at the beginning, whenever I take a poll, like, how are you using AI? How familiar? I feel like I will never select I'm an expert, because it's just going to be changing so much, and I'm never going to get satisfied with the amount that I know, because it seems like it's never going to be enough. So I think to realize we need to be humble and just know we're not going to know everything, but stay current and keep talking and learning and staying curious. Like in Andrea's book, she has, some traits, which I think are really great about kind of the ideal governance leader. And one of them is to stay curious and keep learning. And I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I agree. And, to underscore what Millicent just said, I think the biggest risk is that people in positions of authority, responsibility, power, whether they're board members, executive team members, policymakers, others, don't think that they need to do this. It's sort of human failure to be humble, to be curious. And I think if people realize we are really going through some really disruptive change now. We went through disruptive change 20, 30 years ago with the internet, et cetera. This is way huger, if I can coin a term, way huger. It's not a good term, but it is so much bigger and so much more dangerous in many ways, and so much more promising than ever before, because these technologies can really do some amazing things. And hopefully we'll get to see that without, destroying ourselves in the process. But I think the failure of human leaders, of the leadership class, to understand that they're it, and they have to help show the way by exercising, by adopting. That to me is the greatest danger, because if they don't do that, then there won't be humans in the loop that get determined in the employment, in the employee population, the talent pools, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe, well, first, I completely agree with Andrea. We're in the midst of just a dramatic change, paradigm change, and much of it is for the better. but it will take place over a fraction of the amount of time of sort of disruptive change that the internet era changed. This will take place in like a tenth or less of the time frame. So there's much more chaos that gets created in that short duration. I
Yeah.
think boards, this is a for the foreseeable future agenda item for every single board meeting. What are we doing if we're a commercial business, what are we doing with our AI strategy to affect how our customers consume our products and get more benefit and value? From an internal operations, what are we doing to assure that we're making use of the safest use of the best new technologies to drive operating efficiency or serve our membership or whatever it is? And then what are we doing as a board to drive governance in a safe and responsible way, leveraging this technology? I think it's a agenda topic for maybe the rest of our careers.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, Andrew, when I was listening to all of you talk, it feels like given the pace of change, leaders just have to be in a beginner's mindset because everything is new over and over and over again. And that can be hard to do. Um,
Absolutely.
but that's what we need our leaders to do, to be curious, to be humble, to be willing to learn and willing to have the discussions, bring things up in the boardroom and talk about how we govern and
And
what needs to
willing
change.
to be vulnerable, willing
Yes.
to say,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
When I talk about this stuff, I'm bringing my lenses to the table. I'm not bringing your lenses, Millicent, or yours, Mark, or yours, Carolyn. I bring my experience and views, but we need everybody's to come around the table, the virtual table, to understand these issues and then create policies and approaches. And we have to have the courage to say I don't know, which is something I didn't have when I was a young attorney on Wall Street. I was like scared
Totally.
to say I don't know.
Totally.
I just tell people I don't know.
And this is why I believe it's a forever topic on
Yeah.
every agenda. It's because if you think it's once a year topic, like you might talk about insurance or
Yeah,
some,
yeah.
DNO, whatever, you no. By the time an expert is coming to you to present something that same day in that quarter, that information is already old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's changing
Yeah.
that fast.